Good evening, Namaste, Jai Guru, dear friends. Welcome to today's class on Jesus Christ, His life and His teachings. As always, let us begin our class with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, Beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashay, Swami Shri Yukteswar Ji, Beloved Gurudev, Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, Friend and guide Swami Kriyananda Ji, saints and sages of all religions, humbly we bow at thy feet. O infinite Christ, present in the body of Jesus and in all of us, manifest thyself in the essence of thy glory, in the strength of thy light, and in the power of thy infinite wisdom and love. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let us now invoke the presence of the Gurus by singing the hymn to Brahma, followed by a chant. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtam Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyadirakshayam Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Triguna Rahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Tvameva Mata च पिता त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धु च सखा त्वमेव त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव Let's sing the chant. O thou King of the infinite, I behold thee in samadhi, in joy, ever new joy, in thy light of mellow joy. O thou King of the infinite, O thou King of the infinite, I behold thee in samadhi, I behold thee in samadhi, in joy and in more joy, in thy light of mellow joy, in joy and in more joy, in thy light of Let's be in silence for a few moments. In the meantime, let's check if our spine is straight. If there's a smile on our face, are we relaxed? Any part of the body, any muscle, any joint, consciously relax that. And with the next breath, raise your energy up through the chakras to the spiritual eye. And exhale and relax completely. Feel the joy of just being, of being alive, of being conscious, of being aware of what is happening. Just for that, just be enjoying. Let us now hear a few thoughts by Swami Kriyananda ji on concentration. A very interesting fact to know is that whenever we are focused and concentrated in life, those are the times that we are happy in our lives. Whenever we are not focused, whenever we are scattered, whether our thoughts are scattered or our energy is scattered, or physically we are trying to do too much in the outward world, you will find that you are not happy. So concentration is not just too much single pointedness. It's the pathway to joy. And interestingly, it is seen that Swamiji would say that joy is not a reward, it's a solution. So whatever you do, if you do with full concentration and a joyful willingness, you will find that everything in that work that you are doing is going to change, and your own attitude will uplift you, and your efficiency in this world will increase. So let's hear a few words on concentration. Concentration is the secret of success in every undertaking. Without concentration, thoughts, energy, inspiration, purpose, all one's inner forces become scattered. Concentration is the calm focus of one's full attention on the purpose at hand. Concentration means more than mental effort. It means channeling your heart's feelings, your faith, and your deep aspirations into whatever you are doing. In that way, even the little things in life can become rich with meaning. Concentration should not involve mental strain. When you really want something, it is difficult not to think about it. Concentrate with interest on whatever you do, and you will find yourself absorbed in it. Let us do the following affirmation multiple times. Whatever I do in life, I give it my full attention. Like a laser beam, I burn from before me all the problems. Whatever I do in life, I give it my full attention. Like a laser beam, I burn from before me all problems. Whatever I do in life, I give it my full attention. Like a laser beam, I burn from before me all problems. Let us now mentally follow this prayer. Help me to see Thee, Lord, as the scriptures describe Thee, the most relishable. Help me to concentrate on Thee, my gaze, my love, my aspirations, my entire being. Om, peace, Amen. So friends, we now come to the story section of our class. And yet again, we have another story from Paramhansa Yogananda. And let me tell you, my stock of stories from Yogananda ji is about to finish. But even then, once even that stock is finished, either in later classes, we will reread those stories because they're amazing and we tend to forget. But otherwise as well, I will try to bring up stories from the Puranas, the Upanishads, the Vedas, whatever story is there which has an underlying moral for us, something for us to hold on to. I'll try to get them together, and then we'll continue to share our stories in these classes. So, okay, so for today, Paramhansa Yogananda ji's story, and the name of the story is The Man Who Was Healed by Suggestion. One afternoon, so this is a story that was live with Yogananda ji. It is his story, and this took place when he was in India before he had gone to America in 1920. So one afternoon, before I came to America, I was sitting in my little hermitage by the canal in Calcutta. A young farmer, steeped in the habit of opium, came to visit me. I found in him the saddest physical and mental anguish. We talked for a long time about God, and he was feeling very happy. But all of a sudden, he looked at his watch and remembered that he hadn't had his opium. A terrible fit came over him. He began to froth at the mouth and shake with terrible paroxysms. He cried out, 6 o'clock is past, the hour at which I always take my opium pills, and I have none with me. So I said, oh, well, do not be alarmed. I just remembered that I have some very special opium inside. He said, you have? Oh, you saved my life. I went into the hermitage and quickly returned. I said to him, close your eyes. You will find this to be the most wonderful brand of opium that you have ever tasted. And so I put a lump in his mouth and quickly gave him some water to bolt it down. His foaming and shaking ceased. Oh, he said, oh, thank you. I am so happy that you healed me with this wonderful opium. I said, would you like to come every evening? I'll prepare this brand for you and save you from buying opium. So every evening for 1 month, I fed him this special brand of opium. He came to the ashram and we talked and meditated a little bit each day. And at the end of the month, he was hale and hearty. His health had improved. Then I asked him, why shouldn't you quit opium? You don't need it anymore. He protested, now you saw me, you know that I will die without it. I have tried so many times to do without it, but it is impossible. So I said, well, it is not impossible. You have done without the opium for 30 days. I haven't been giving you any opium. He was shocked. What do you mean? So I said, come along. In my room was a big lump of dough and some dark vegetable ink. All I had been feeding him was dough with some ink in it. But because my mental suggestion was so strong, he said that it was the best brand of opium that he had ever used. But when he found out that what had been going on, right away his habit started to reassert itself. He was frothing again. He fell to the ground, shaking. At that moment, with great fire, I said, now you know that it is your subconscious mind that is making you suffer. You did without the opium for 30 days. Get up. And when I gave that fiery command, reinforced by my strong thought of healing, he was all right. And thereafter, he never touched opium again. Master goes on to tell us, mind controls the cells of the body because mind is the power that made the cells of the body and grew them actually in the shape of the body. Every part of the body has been manufactured by the mind. That is why healing by a mind wielded by strong will is possible when the patient is suggestible. But when the mind is powerfully enslaved by a pernicious habit, there are more powerful agents of healing than mental suggestions that can be used. Most effective of all is healing by commands of the higher cosmic intelligence to the little microscopic intelligence of the bodily cells. Similar was the power used by Christ when he commanded the sick or even the diseased, I say unto thee, arise. Om, Om, Om. So friends, such a beautiful story and told in such a beautiful way. Does this message strike with you? When I read this story, it immediately struck me because recently I was just moving around and I hit my toes against a very hard object. I don't remember, it was a door or something. And my immediate reaction was to wince like, oh, like that, And in that moment, I realized that the pain had not yet started. And of course, in a moment after that, the pain did start, which was bound to happen because pain is a signal, is a protective signal for the body. So, but that there was a pause in between. It was my mental conditioning first that gave me that made me wince before the actual pain began. So, and similarly, in that story, just because the person sees the time and he says, oh, at 6 o'clock, I was supposed to have my opium. And since I've not had it, therefore he starts to kind of have frothing through his mouth. He falls down and he's in agony and so on and so forth, when actually those things may not be happening. So the mind is a very, very, very powerful. And it is the projection of the mind that makes us suffer more than we ought to. And this brings me again to the story of the Buddha that we've talked about earlier, that if you are suppose hit by an arrow, then of course there is going to be there's going to be pain in the body. And yet, as you are suffering from the arrow, another arrow comes and hits you again. So of course your suffering is going to multiply with that. But what Buddha says later as he tells this story is that the second arrow is basically the magnification of your own mind. So yes, because of karmic tendencies, because we are living in this world of Maya and dualities, the first arrow will keep hitting in some way or the other, whether it's physical, emotional, or whatever kind of trouble, financial trouble. But the second arrow needn't hit us. So we needn't magnify our troubles by saying, oh, I am suffering. Oh, I am this petty little person and I have to go through all these things and I am the victim and the whole world is bad and so on. So I do not need to mentally magnify that thing. I need to, yes, acknowledge that one arrow of one trouble has hit me. I need to do my best to kind of improve the situation, to heal myself and not allow my emotions and my thoughts to multiply that. So, and that can be done only when we are aware. When we are alert and aware in this moment, when we can introspect and watch our thoughts and feelings this moment, whether it is a painful moment or it is a moment full of pleasure. If I can watch myself that, oh, okay, yes, this good thing has happened in my life and it is giving me pleasure. So in that moment also, I need to withdraw a bit and I need to witness that my mind is getting pleasure from this experience. Similarly, when a painful experience arises, again, I, the self, the Atma, need to be a witness, need to withdraw myself and from a third person point of view, see that yes, because there is this experience, the body is going through some kind of pain. I acknowledge both the pleasure and the mind and the pain, and yet I am in full control of myself. I can just draw back from that and see this as a drama. Of course, sometimes the pain is so much that we are humans as well. We have human hearts and we are going to cringe, we are going to cry, but that is all right. Master said that yogi is not just like so much he is detached that he is not able to feel the pain of tragedy. That is not the case. So if somebody passes away, somebody you love leaves you, then of course you have pain in your heart. But how is the yogi different then? The yogi can quickly come out of this grief, of his grief. He can quickly stand back on his 2 feet, and he can also then bring in the thing that God is the doer. He knows that all souls belong to God, that all situations belong to God. So he can reason it out with himself that whatever situation has come by the will of God. And therefore he can come out of his state of grief. He can come back to the state of even-mindedness and cheerfulness under all circumstances, as Master has advised us to do. So again, just saying the message of this story again, whatever happens, whatever experience is happening to you, pause in the moment, accept and acknowledge, okay, this is happening. Try to detach yourself from the experience and watch it from a distance, and then joyfully do the best that you need to do in the situation. Willingly do your part in this drama of life, and then we anyway know that the fruits of our actions are not in our hands. So we just allow God to do his part. We do a tiny little wee bit that we can do. Okay, so that brings us now to our main section, that is the reading from the Bible, the New Testament. And the last class we studied about the theory of Genesis, how Master said that creation came into being, that God the Absolute said that let there be light, and there was light. And then from light, there was thought, there was energy, there is matter, and that all of us are combinations of all these layers. And yet we are none of them, in a sense that we are the pure soul, the pure witness consciousness, pure awareness. And we are also, by the will of God, we are playing this drama of life. Okay, and then healing can happen, as we said today. Healing can happen at the level, since we know that creation is thought, energy, matter. Healing can therefore happen at the level of thought as well as energy. And again, this is something very practical that you need to do in everyday life. Check out the disharmonies in your energy, check out the disharmonies in your thought, align them to Master, attune with Master, do your affirmations, and you will find that the problems in your life are gradually they are resolving. Okay, so now we come to the section where Jesus is now started his ministry. He's collected a few disciples. He's traveling from place to place. And now a few miracles will be performed by him. And the crowds will gather towards him. And more disciples will join. Till now, only 5, 6 have come. Others are yet to come. So I'll now read from the Gospel of John, chapter 2, verses 1 to 11. And the third day there was a marriage in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. And both Jesus was called and his disciples to the marriage. And when they wanted wine, the mother of Jesus saith unto him, They have no wine. Jesus saith unto her, Woman, what have I to do with this? Mine hour is not yet come. His mother saith unto the servants, Whatsoever he says unto you, do it. And there were set there 6 water pots of stone, after the manner of the purifying of the Jews, containing 2 or 3 firkins apiece. Jesus saith unto them, Fill the water pots with water. And they filled them up to the brim. And he saith unto them, Draw out now, and bear unto the governor of the feast. And they gave it. When the ruler of the feast had tasted the water that was made wine, and knew not whence it was, but the servants which drew the water knew, the governor of the feast called the bridegroom, and saith unto him, Every man at the beginning doth set forth good wine, and when men have well drunk, then that which is worse. But thou hast kept the good wine until now. This beginning of miracles did Jesus in Cana of Galilee, and manifested forth his glory, and his disciples believed on him. Okay, so this is the original reading, and now we try to understand what is happening here. So now he's moving with his disciples, and there is a marriage in the society, and Jesus is invited, his mother is invited, relatives are invited, and Jesus's disciples are also invited. So all of them are gathered, and there is feasting, and there is festivity going on. And as in the Western culture, and also in colder places, they do serve wine. Now, some of us may think that, oh, serving wine, how do these people have wine? Now, interestingly, we must also remember that places which are colder on earth than India is, they have very few things to keep them warm, and also in that area there is a lot of growth of grapes, grape wines. There are too many grape yards and vines over there. So, and no food is allowed to go waste. So just think of it that they have collected so many grapes, and of course not all grapes can be eaten, and the grapes will eventually get fermented and turn into some liquid which is also useful to them. So think of it in a very practical, commonsensical way, and not in the way that, oh, they are drinking and making merry and so on and so forth. So wine is a very natural second product of farming in many countries, and especially in the colder areas where they're used to such a drink. Okay, so now again, let's come to the marriage. So there are feasting and festivities going on. Jesus is present, his disciples are present. There is laughter going on. And then suddenly the hostess realizes that the wine is short. The number of disciples, number of guests are more, and the wine is short. So she is a good friend of Mary, and she tells to Mary. And then Mary just takes a moment to think, and she knows that she can ask Jesus to do such a thing. Now, Mary always knew that Jesus is a divine child. From the very beginning, she was told by angel Gabriel. She knew that the heavenly spirit had taken the human form in her, and that this child was special. She already knew that. So now she approaches Jesus, and she says that they have no wine. So why don't you do something about it? So now Jesus his first reaction is that, woman, what have I to do with this? And mine hour is not yet come. So this is Jesus's first reaction. But then he takes a moment, and then he changes his decision. Why? He will not do anything out of women's fancy. So yes, firstly, Mother Mary is, again, he also knows that Mother Mary is also divine, and he takes a moment to think that this is probably the divine command from where I start my ministry, and therefore he agrees to do what is the needful. And so Mother Mary tells all the people who are working in the kitchen and the pantry that whatever this person tells you, you do that. And that's all she says, and she goes away. So now Jesus is present, a couple of his disciples are present, and all those people in the kitchen are present. I think there were 4 or 5 people, according to some movie that I saw, but the number is not exactly given. So there are people, and there are mud pots, huge mud pots, which the Jews normally used for some purification process. There are large mud pots which are filled with water. Some are, and the others, Jesus asked the kitchen people to fill with water. So now all the pots are filled with water up to the brim. And of course, Jesus, he prays and he recharges the water. And then he, of course, tells them to close the top of the pots. And then once the people open that, they find that it is converted into wine. And so when the people, the staff is serving that wine, and Jesus tells to serve it to the governor. So the governor is basically the person who is hosting the ceremony, and also is the father of the bridegroom, and the bride or the groom. So what happens is, when that person tastes the wine, he says, usually what happens is, when guests have just arrived, people tend to serve good quality wine. And once after some time they are a bit drunk, then the host brings out wine that is not of such good quality. But here he comments that here wine is being served at the end, which is of the best quality that we've ever had. So very interesting. So here is a spiritual master, a Messiah, and here he is performing a miracle at such a worldly and material level. Now the thing is that this the people who are feasting are not bothered. They don't even know a miracle has been performed. But the people who were in the kitchen and the disciples, for them, they know that a miracle has happened. So it is for them actually that this miracle is performed. And also it is for all of us to know that if a person is a spiritual person, that does not mean that he's going to talk only about miracles, he's only going to talk about high spiritual truths, but he is also going to come to our level and actually solve our daily needs, the daily material needs, whether it is water or food or wine or health or whatever that may be. So the great master actually will help us in that as well. And miracles that are performed are sometimes specially for few people, or sometimes even for one person. So even if one person is changed in their consciousness by seeing such a miracle, then the job of the miracle is done. And Jesus would not do anything unless he had that inner sanction. Another important thing that Master says is, now Jesus addresses his mother as woman. He doesn't say, oh, mommy, I can't do this. Oh, why should I do this? He says woman. So does that mean that he does not respect his mother? No, not at all. It just means that he is impersonal. He wants to remind her that he is not just the son in body born through her, but he is the son of God. So he wants always to remember this and to make his mother also remember. Of course, she knows, but even when we know, sometimes as parents, and we kind to we get attached to the body of the person who is next to us, we forget that actually in truth, now if we bring this truth to our family, if our spouses, our children, all the relatives, all the colleagues that we have, they're all actually children of God. We tend to forget this again and again. So here Jesus is just simply impersonally detaching himself, addressing her as a woman without any disrespect, because later in the Bible, actually Jesus advises that you must respect your father and mother. You should give them love and respect. So this is not contrary to what the teachings of Jesus are, but just in tune that you must play your part in life. You must play the son, the daughter, the husband, the wife, and the parent, and the boss or the employee. And yet you must remember that all these roles are needed to be played impersonally, knowing that everything is God's, all people belong to God, and all situations belong to God. Okay. Master explains then, all souls are children of the Most High. To forget this divine pedigree is to accept the limitations of a soul humiliating identity with a dust thou art human body. So every time we forget that we are divine, we are actually, he's saying, you are humiliating the soul. You're humiliating your soul when you think that, oh, I am this body. This body, he's saying, is dust thou art. And in Hindu Shastra also, we know that it says it is the Pancha Tattva, or it is just dust. तो मिट्टी में मिल जाएगा शरीर, है ना, हम ऐसा भी बोलते हैं. So similarly here, Master is saying that as many times as you think that you are this body, you are humiliating the infinite soul. So how do we come out of this? We are so bonded to the body, or time and again, in fact, most of the day we are thinking that we are this body and personality. So how we are going to get out of this attachment? This is the most strong attachment, the inclination, also called abhinivesha, means clinging to bodily existence. This is very, very common. So the best way is Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga is the airplane route to God, means it is the airplane route to know that you are infinite. And how does it do that? Why? Because normally we are working through the senses and we are going into the outward world. What Kriya will do? It will withdraw the energy from the senses. It will go to the core of your being. From the spine, Master has taught us to come to the spiritual eye. And the spiritual eye is the point where you can actually, when you concentrate there deep, you can know that you are more than this body and personality. You are the infinite essence. So that's how you do it the quickest way. Of course, there are many other parts of karma, jnana and bhakti, but we combine them together. But Kriya Yoga is indeed the airplane route. It directly helps you to experience your infinite essence. Okay. One who knows God remembers at all times that the Heavenly Father, Mother, Creator is the true parent of all souls and the bodies of all. So, very important point here. When we treat our children, we should know that these are souls that have been temporarily given to us, and we are only temporary parents of these children, and that the Most High is the father, mother, and friend of this soul. So, what we need to do is, yes, gently guide that soul according to the conditionings of the world, and yet give the freedom to the soul to make its own mistakes, to travel its own journey, and gently keep turning that soul towards God. If we as parents have realized the importance of God in our lives, then we should also try and just sometimes tangibly, sometimes very subtly, because sometimes these days children are resistant to the thought of religion, of God, of spirituality. But it is one of our duties to gently nudge them in the direction of God. And you may not just keep saying the word God or idol worship, but turning them to their highest potential of love, peace, joy, wisdom in subtle ways. It is our duty to turn them towards the true parent. And also that helps us to reduce the burden on in our heart and shoulders, that we think we are completely responsible for this child's life. We are not. We should be like that gardener who just takes care of this plant. The God has sown the seeds in us, the child is born, and all we need to do is nurture that plant with love, with wisdom, and joyfully turning it to its source as much as we can, and then allowing it to go through its own fruition of life. Now, we all know, as we read in Patanjali, that this life that we are leading right now is because of the past karma. Whatever we are, what is happening in our life has been started sometime previously. And since if that is the case, then so is the case with our children's life. So whatever is happening in the child's life has been drawn to that soul, and the child needs to go through those tests and difficulties and moments of pleasure to unfold his own or her own journey. We should allow that to happen. We should guide our children definitely with wisdom. We should give them good suggestions. We should give them a loving and joyful environment. But then again, we need to step back a little from our attachment to them, which may curb actually their natural blossoming as an original soul. And every time you face difficulty with your children, offer that difficulty to God. If you feel that your children are going the wrong way, they are not listening to you, know that God, the mother, she is your mother and she is the child's mother as well. God, the father, is my father and my child's father as well. So trust the process and just pray for that soul and do your best. So again, I think Master gives us instruction with every line of his teaching. All we need to do is just try and apply it on a daily basis. Okay. Jesus's divine attitude of non-attachment is, Master says, is not to disregard the command, honor thy father and thy mother. So again, he's clarifying that the word woman does not mean out of disrespect. When the mother of Jesus made a request of him during the marriage feast at Cana, Jesus responded from his paramount loyalty to God. It is God only who can appoint the time and means through which he will manifest the glory through me. So that's what Jesus meant when he said that my time has not come. In that moment, he said that, but a few moments later, he changed because he received the divine command. Having felt intuitionally an inner divine guidance and permission, Jesus forthwith asked the servants to fill the large pots with water, which he instantaneously changed into fine wine. All this he did before the eyes of his disciples, in order that they might know that the water became wine through divine power and not through some kind of trickery. Miracles attract curiosity seekers. The love of God draws highly developed souls. Very, very deep statement. So, miracles, definitely, it attracts all of us are attracted initially to an extent by miracles of healing. We are in pain, we are healed of physical, mental, emotional pain, and it's kind of a miracle, and we are attracted. So sometimes, yes, God does gives us miracle to attract our attention, but the true devotee or an advanced soul is not later in, as he advances, he is not affected by the presence or absence of miracles in his life. His focus is not on the phenomena that is happening in the changing world, because again, a miracle is a change that is happening in the surrounding world. What is most important for the true devotee and advanced soul is the love for God, because that is what is something that is not going to change. Whether we are in this body or not, we are living this life or not, God is ever our father, mother, friend, and beloved. So that truth is what we should hold on to rather than any miracle happening in our life. And also, sometimes a phase comes in our life where initially we've had many miracles, but now it feels that, oh, there's a plateau and nothing much is happening in my life. I am practicing my kriyas, I am doing whatever is required, but nothing is happening. You still, in that case, it's a test, and you need to hold on to the love of God. And it is that which is the boat, the raft across the ocean of delusion is the love of God, and not any miracle, because even miracle is impermanent, it is temporary. So we must remember that we must not seek too much miracles of changes of phenomenon and wonder workers, or so many things people do around. If we want to be steadfast on the path, if you want to uh, achieve self-realization, then it is important that we hold on to God's love and that love alone. And of course, we hold on to the practices that the Guru has told us to do. We remain sincere on the path. We remain steadfast. We keep walking fast, if fast or slow, that does not matter. But we keep walking in that direction, and things will change. The Lord has already given us a bounty of wonders to behold. And that is the truth. Actually, seeing everything is a miracle. Master says, will just look around you. Everything is a miracle. The fact that this body, which is made of the Pancha Tattva, is actually inert in itself, but it is walking, it is moving around, it is speaking. All of that, the way water flows, the way water cycle is set, and the way a small seed becomes into a huge tree and then it gives rise to so many trees, the way sunlight causes the plants to produce food, everything is a miracle. It's bountiful. So it's just a little key that has to be turned in our minds to see that God is present everywhere and he is doing his miracles all the time. But we needn't wait for a specific phenomenon, and we continue our search. Okay. Jesus performed his first public miracle not to sanction intoxication of the social use of wine. So again, most devotees don't drink, and they may misunderstand this episode. So Master is clarifying here. It is not sanctioning that you should get intoxicated by having wine, but to demonstrate to his disciples that behind every diversity of matter is one absolute substance. To Jesus, wine was not wine. It was a specific vibration of electrical energy manipulatable by the knowledge of the supra-physical laws. God consciousness, Yogananda ji says, is 1,000 times more intoxicating than drunkenness and elevates the spirit of man rather than degrading its potential. Okay, so a very important thing he has mentioned here. Now, many people who drink wine or alcohol in any form, they feel that they are getting happier as the dose is going in, and what they forget is actually there's an entire science behind why people start to feel a little lighter and happier. Actually, alcohol is going to blunt all your experiences. The frontal cortex is blunted by that, is suppressed by the use of alcohol, and the frontal cortex is responsible for faster decision making, better judgment, for social behavior, and so on. So whenever a person is drinking, though his social behavior goes down, we know that he cannot drive, his power of judgment, reflexes, decision making, everything is going down. And because of all of that suppression, his memory of the past things that have his mind is kind of actively stressing upon, that is also suppressed for a while, and he goes into his subconsciousness, and he temporarily feels that he has gotten rid of the problems of life, which is, again, we know it's false, because as soon as he gets out of that state of drunkenness, not only the problems are very much standing there, or even they have multiplied, but even he's also having a hangover. So here is this a very complex situation. But just like the opium addict in the story that we read today, the alcohol addict just feels that he is out of his stress and troubles temporarily for some time, not knowing that not only is he going into his subconscious when he's drinking, also he's developing that habit, and he's so bound to the habit that he's starting to think that he cannot live without it. So it's a trap. We must remember that any habit is a trap, and it's like a chain that is going to bind you, and when you want to get out of it, the power of that habit is going to really obstruct you, and you will need to generate a power and energy which is higher than the power generated by the previous habit to actually get out of that. And again, here comes the role of affirmation. So once you have kind of come to the point where you have acknowledged that, yes, I have this habit pattern, it may be drinking, it may be anger, it may be irritability, or whatever that is. Once you've acknowledged that it is there, now if you want to get over it, you need to generate a higher energy. And therefore, for people like Master, one affirmation, just saying the statement once is sufficient, because it is charged with so much divine power that it can heal you. But for most of us, we need to repeat the affirmation. So by repeating the affirmation, what we do is we keep on adding up, summating the energy, and sometime will come when the energy gets summated enough to cross over the energy barrier which was created by the past habit. And as soon as that energy is surmounted, the hold of the habit on you will start to fade away, and it will suddenly disappear. In fact, if all of us just look back on our life, when we came on the spiritual path, we had some habit patterns, the anxiety that we had, we used to worry, we were more fearful. Now, over a period of time, the worry, the anxiety, the fear, all those negative emotions which we were used to have reduced much. For many, they have become fearless. Now, that is so beautiful. But that has been by, of course, the grace of God and the Gurus, and by your little effort every day, by your meditation every day, by satsang every day, by affirmation, doing all the tools. The teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda are so complete and comprehensive. He has given us a toolbox. He has given us Hong So, energization, pranayamas, Kriya especially, and chanting and affirmation and yoga postures. It's a huge list, and we can use any of it in our life, and we find that all of that helps to build that energy which will cross over the energy of a habit pattern. So we must remember this as well. Okay. Jesus's disciples on the day of Pentecost were as if drunk, but with the wine of God consciousness. So again, two new words, day of Pentecost. Day of Pentecost is basically after Jesus was crucified, 40 days after that, Jesus, all the disciples together, they were all together, and they experienced the vibrations of Om, they experienced the bliss of spirit. And in fact, it is said that they spoke in various languages which were unknown to them. So all of them had a collective experience of the spirit of Jesus, that means of Christ consciousness, at a very powerful level, and all of them were in ecstasy. And so Master has just brought in that point here early on, because he wants to say that the intoxication of wine is nothing, that the intoxication of God consciousness is something that we must look forward to. And that is what is going to, and that intoxication is going to free us. Very interesting. So just be in the ecstasy of God communion, be in the bliss of God's presence, and then you would not even need the lesser pleasures that one has been seeking earlier. One who is inebriated with God needs no other palliative to ease whatever woes befall him. And here I'm remembering two stories from Master's life. So one is the story that there was a person who was a drunkard, who had a drinking habit and would have a bottle in his hand, and Master did give him Kriya. Now, other disciples told him that how can you take Kriya, or how can you go on the spiritual path? You are such a drunkard. So his answer was that, yes, I acknowledge I have this bad habit, but does that mean that I cannot aspire to get out of the habit? Does that mean that I cannot aspire to be happy, or I cannot correct myself? So that is not the case. And knowing the past karma and the heart of that devotee, master gave him Kriya. And so he would actually practice Kriya with having Kriya Mala in one hand and a bottle in the other. And he would do some Kriyas and he would take a sip from his bottle. And after a few days or weeks of practicing Kriya, a point came where he was so ecstatic that he just dropped the bottle and he said, I don't need this anymore. And then he was intoxicated by God's presence. So the wine is a much lower pleasure than God's communion. And another incident, master was entering a particular hotel, and there was this drunkard, moving around here and there, and he put his hand on master's shoulder as if he was an old friend, started talking and so on. And master was always so kind and compassionate. And then master just touched that fellow on his heart, and that fellow went into intoxication, the ecstasy of God. And he said, what have you been drinking? So he's asking master, what have you been drinking? So very interesting that unless we have something to compare with, it's difficult for us to jump from a lower pleasure to a higher pleasure, a higher ecstasy. That's what master used to say, because we are so used to eating stale cheese. Unless we have tasted fresh cheese, we wouldn't know that we are eating stale cheese, and that is useless. So because in our life, we are so used to material pleasures, the pleasure of simple friendship, the pleasure of senses, means just having an ice cream, the pleasure of doing some material work, of material success, we are intoxicated with that. But once we start to meditate and we taste the bliss of meditation, of contact with God, it is only then that we have a standard of comparison. It is only then we can say that these material pleasures are nothing. They are just dust. I don't want them anymore. I want God contact. I want the bliss of infinitude. So slowly over a period of time, that bliss gets embossed on our soul, and we are able to detach from the material pleasures. So we are able, unless we have tasted a higher thing, we are not able to give up the lower pleasure. So always important that a very interesting thought that is coming is, sometimes we think that we are doing too much work in the worldly life and I must just quit my entire work and I will just do, I'll read a book, I will just relax and so on. So for that, it is important to have some step in between. So for example, if you're doing a job which is from morning to night and you're a workaholic and you're addicted to that and you're stressed out, and that's why you say, okay, I'm not going to do anything. And you will find that, yes, couple of days you will feel peaceful, there is no stress. But after that, you will start to go into the state of boredom, into the state of tamas. So whenever you want to shift from one work profile to another, just ask yourself, am I going to uplift myself towards more sattva? Or am I just shunning my work because I'm fed up with it, but eventually I will land up in tamas. So if you give one activity up, always take up some other activity which is more uplifting spiritually, which gives you more wisdom, may not be so rajasic, means not so activating. So whenever shifting jobs or whenever giving up some activity, replace it with an activity which has more sattva in it, which is more pure, which is more calming to your heart, and yet it needs full concentration. Because in the beginning, remember we talked about concentration and we said without concentration, there is not going to be any joy. So just leaving work and doing nothing is not going to give you joy. It is going to, in fact, take you into tamas and more dark phases. So please check, while changing activity, is it going to give you more joy? Is it going to uplift you? Is it going to take you towards God? Is it going to calm you in the heart? And then you may shift over to something better. Okay. One who is inebriated with God needs no other palliative to ease whatever woes befall him. So the great ones enjoin man to sit quietly and go deep into meditation. After the resisting restless thoughts have been stilled, the devotee finds his cup runneth over with an ecstatic divine elixir of joy. Spirit is the power that gives intelligence and life to matter. There is no fundamental difference between matter and spirit. Thought and matter both originate in the creative vibratory power of God. Thought, energy, and matter differ only in terms of relativity of vibration. Thought being the subtlest, which condenses into light of life energy and ultimately into gross matter. Thoughts, when energized, become visible images as in dreams. Matter is crystallized thought of God and crystallized dreams of God. So now Master also talks about the hypnosis. Now another thing that comes here to mind is different, the thought, energy and matter is when we are dreaming. When we are dreaming, it appears very, very real. So we create people in our dream, we create situations in our dream, and they appear to be full of color also, sound also, emotions also, and appears very real. But when we wake up, we realize that all of that was simply mind stuff. It was my own consciousness, that my own consciousness made a world of its own, which had people, which had situations, which had buildings and so on. But all of that was only mind. That is truth. So similarly, what Master is trying to say here is that all of this world, which appears to be so multifarious, has various bodies and things and a mind working underneath, so much intelligence source, is actually mind stuff of God. Actually, it is only Brahman. There is only one reality. You may think that thought is different from matter, but all of that is made of the one consciousness of God. It is made up of one Brahman. Now, to realize that, we have to awaken from this dream that we are dreaming. So, Master here just points out a person under hypnosis may be induced to dive into the floor and make the motions of swimming if the hypnotist has suggested that he sees a pond spread out before him. Similarly, a process of cosmic hypnosis impinges on man's ordinary consciousness to make him perceive a solid as different from water as liquid, and different from fire, and different from air, and so on. It is cosmic delusion that gives the idea of fixed, differentiated, finite substances and objects with definite, unchanging properties. The universal creative force, or Maya, conjures apparent limitations in the unlimited. It makes the vibrationless substance appear as finite thing. In the ultimate sense, nothing in this universe is finite, except the various phases of change that materiality undergoes. So if we just remember this thought, that everything is it appears to be differentiated, but it is one. All of us with so many varieties of personalities are all one. All the things that are around us are also God consciousness. Just by remembering this, if we just remember that this person next to me is God, it's easy for me to forgive. It is easy for me to love. It is easy for me to be in joy and see, oh, this is God's drama. Yes, this is happening. This is all God's drama. It makes life easier. It makes life simpler. And therefore, it is the most practical suggestion that in everything we try to see God. And it was Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Jayanti 2 days ago. And this is what he said. This is God is one. And you realize that oneness by the grace of the Guru. So we try from now on. I have made this a practice. I try to do this most of the time, that I see everybody, for whoever patient comes to me, I first in my mind say, okay, God has come to me, and let me do what I have to do. Let me be in joy first. Let me share my vibrations of joy with this soul. and he is God himself. He's posing as a patient, and I will do my best. And even then, if I work with a lot of technology in my workplace, so when I see the machine, I say, okay, God, this is you, and you are showing me images of what is inside this patient. And then there are people who are working with me and say, okay, God, this is how it is. So I have slowly, over a period of time, I have conditioned. I'm trying to kind of condition in one way and uncondition in another way my mind to see that everything is God, every person is God. And I have found that I don't feel hurt even when the other person blames you for something, even if you make mistakes, even if you go wrong and things are happening around you, you do not feel hurt, because you know that it is God who is doing everything. God is the doer. He is present in every atom of the universe. And if we just try to see the one behind the many, then all the suffering on this world of this world vanishes away. With that thought, we can end today's class, and we can send healing vibrations to all souls everywhere, to all animate and inanimate objects, for everything is God. Let us pray together. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all thy children. Manifest thy healing presence in all bodies, all minds, and all souls. Om, Om, Om. Divine Mother, beloved Lord Jesus, may thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.